quick info about me. I had quite a bit of diverse industry experience, from food to home improvement to apparel and textile, based in Hong Kong. It's always been about supply chain. My focus has been supply chain, warehousing, logistics, and all improvement really along the supply chain end to end. So if you have any questions about other parts of supply chain, I'm more than happy to discuss as well. Okay, so there's going to be two parts to this topic, the presentation. First, we're going to talk about speed. What does speed mean to you guys, to your companies, and all the stakeholders that you work with within supply chain. Hopefully that will give you a bit of understanding, and also something that you can take back to your organizations or to your brands to tell your teams why speed is so important right now in the current conditions, supply chain and retail conditions we're in. The second part of the presentation will be about some practical tips on what you can do to bring your products faster to the market. And speed can mean two things. One is speed as a product speed, just getting your product very fast to the retail market, to the market, and also speed programs, which means certain type of products may need differentiated level of speed. Some may need very quick read and react, and some could be just an optimized sort of program where you just formalize the amount of time that's needed, the right time needed to reach to the end consumer. So we're going to be talking about that. So what is happening? Retail landscape is changing. In the last 5 years, there has been a lot of household brands that have been declared bankruptcies or reducing their store footprint. In 2018, there has actually been more bankruptcies than the 2008 financial crisis, and so that's a pretty alarming rate. And already in 2019, there has been quite a number of store closures and bankruptcies already reported, and we're not even finished with 2019 yet. So we have to be careful. We have to see what's out there, the changing retail landscape, and also the consumer landscape. So let's dive into why this is happening. So something funny is actually going on. Retail sales are growing. CAGR has been growing almost 5% since 2016. Yet retailers' profits are decreasing. They've been decreasing year over year on an annual compounded rate of 6%. And on this side, you have manufacturers. Manufacturers' margins are even shrinking more than twice than the retailers. So how is that possible? You have manufacturers suffering, retailers suffering, but actually the sales are growing fast. So each player across the chain is feeling this pressure. There is increased competition on the retail side of things. So there are more players, which can explain the increasing amount of retail sales. But also the reduction in quality and performance has been happening. So think of a lot of quality defects, returns that are happening, and a lot of lost margins even after the sales that are happening. So there are many dynamics that are happening right now in the overall sort of cost to serve to the customer for that product. So top line pressures are consumers are evolving, and you have digitally vertically integrated brands that are pushing the traditional retailers out of the game. So how is that retail landscape changing? You have every generation posing their sort of their own character. They're imposing their own character into the consumer market. You have baby boomers who have been hunting for bargains, and they do like this personalized touch when it comes to shopping. You have Gen X that value practical and longer lasting products. And they do trust in reviews, they do trust in peer-to-peer reviews and suggestions. You have millennials, which have been the topic for a lot of retailers and brands, and how to capture their wallet, how to capture their attention. They're searching for experiences, and they're very tech savvy. So there's a lot of digital platforms that are now capturing how millennials shop and what their behaviors are. You have Generation Z that's coming up, which will be the topic and focus for a lot of the brands, for a lot of the retailers in the next 5 to 10 years. They are very unique into what they pursue. the products they buy, and also self-learners. So they're very adaptive to the changing conditions and to the changing environment, and they love digital shopping experience. So it has to be extremely customized when it comes to these, especially the last 2 generations, and how to capture their shopping behaviors. So digitally native companies are providing the same value and selling at a much lower price than a lot of traditional brands. When they were surveyed, some of the top digitally vertically integrated retailers actually said they provide the same high level of service at a much competitive price. So how are these guys doing it? They have probably a more customized and smaller batch, smaller volume of products that they are putting into the market. Yet they are capturing the consumers, this new generation, their hearts and minds, and eventually their wallet as well. And on the right side, you can see a lot of the sort of like up and coming new players, new startups who have reached a very high volume of sales in a very short amount of time. And they've been sort of like the darling of vertically integrated or digital native startup. And what we mean by digitally native vertical integrated is a lot of these companies actually started on digital online platforms, and then they negotiated and they created these supply chains with their vendors, very lean, very low inventory, sort of like driven supply chains with very high speed to market, and then also to their customers. So they have sort of been working on smaller batch but fast to consumer supply chain. So when you have this instant gratification, I want to have it right now kind of mentality, these guys have been going leaps and bounds and really reshaping the whole retail scene, especially on the digital side. And actually a lot of them have been, once they master the digital environment, some of them actually have been going on to store format as well. So bricks and mortars are not dying, they're just changing what they mean to the consumer. They're just kind of shaping themselves in different form. It's becoming more experience and brand loyalty driven, these experience centers for a lot of these brands. Alright, so what are the sort of the bottom line factors that are pushing the retailers as well as manufacturers? I don't think I have to talk about the tariffs or what's going on right now in the world. It's all a matter of who tweets what, that we all shift our production from one country to another. But what is happening is a lot of the retailers, a lot of the distributors and brands are becoming smarter and smarter about the supply chain, where to do what product. If I put made in China or made in Vietnam, what are the repercussions about it? They're really dissecting down to the raw material level on how to and where to source things so they can bypass the trade war. And it's a very interesting times that are happening. Rather than just lowest cost, it's becoming more sort of like speed to market and speed to service the consumer and grabbing the consumer's attention as soon as possible. So brands and retailers are becoming very sort of supply chain centric organizations and having a very vertical and deep learning and understanding of what supply chain means, what a good supply chain means. So another thing that is pushing the retailers and vendors are an unfortunate sort of a graph here, but productivity is not going as fast as the minimum wage in a lot of the major production countries. So that means you have minimum wage that is going up very steeply, as you can see from the green dots, but the productivity is not going as much. So we're paying higher for pretty much the same amount of productivity or the same amount of volume that a lot of these countries are doing. So that's really pushing the FOB prices and the overall cost of making a product high. And it also goes for the manufacturers as well. So manufacturers then pass it on to, they actually eat up a lot of the cost themselves, but also pass on many of these cost increases to the retailer and brands who make their products. And on the right side, you have raw material. It has been a very unstable pricing on the raw materials side of things. So this makes for manufacturers and also brands that are vertically integrated very hard to predict what the raw material prices will be from 6 months to another to 1 year. So it makes it very hard to plan that production with the raw material pre-positioning. So the world is becoming not much productive and a bit more unstable on the production and make side of things. So what can we do? There's a lot of macro economic factors that are going on, but there are also things that we can do as a brand, as a retailer, in our personalized supply chain. There are things that we can look into the future and do. There was a survey that was done for the supply chain directors and above level, and the survey showed more than 86% of the leaders say they want to focus on speed to market and improve demand forecasting. For us, they go both hand in hand. If you have a good, confident level of forecast, sales forecast, then you can plan better your upstream supply chain, all the way from your logistics to your distribution network, and then to your manufacturer, and all the way to raw material planning. So it's really important. These two things actually go hand in hand. In our practice, this is what we focus on. Like I said, we do end-to-end supply chain planning, we do end-to-end supply chain diagnostic. So we really start from the end in mind. How confident are you with your sales forecasts? So a lot of the brands are doing some innovative approaches. Some are designing closer to the market trends to reduce the design to consumer or design to launch timeline. They're trying to reduce that because traditionally it's seasonal, right? So it's from 3 months to 6 months, and in some cases it could be up to a 12-month of development calendar. So by having the designers closer to the market and feeding that information back to the manufacturer and back to the supplier base, they are trying to reduce that reaction time through their design and product development. They're trying to reduce inventory buffer. This is actually one of the reasons we get called up on a lot. You can have different inventory models, but reducing the inventory and improving your inventory turnover will enable you to run on lower inventory and also react faster. But with the right product, you can have very minimal inventory and still meet all the customer needs. Also, you can have a lot of inventory sitting in your warehouses, but not meet the customer need because of the wrong assortment, wrong color, wrong size prediction in your forecast. And also quickly replenish hot sellers. So this is on the read and react. If you have heard the term read and react, it's a bit of an optimize. You're optimizing the supply chain to react to the products that sell faster. So stockouts cause walkouts. What that means is there have been $1 trillion last year on lost sales when consumers went into retail, went into the store. They either couldn't find on the shelf what they're looking for, or it wasn't the right size, so they walked out, or they went to another brand or retailer. There are a lot of inventory errors and shelf replenishment, but at the end of the day, more than 50% is not having the right product at the right time for the right customer. So these are the things that these are not macro factors. These are the things that you can actually impact within your own company, within your own supply chain. So these are very good conversations to start talking. It's all about optimizing the supply chain for the future because it's going to be challenging. Gone are the days of large volumes, large inventories, and keeping them at a low cost DC in Europe or US, and just try to churn them and sit on them for a long time. We all know that there are a lot of big apparel companies that are sitting on billions of dollars of inventory apparel that may actually be going into the landfill, as Sam was talking about before, because they won't be sold. They're gone for the season now. They're on to the next season. Right. So not having the right product at the right time, the right assortment, is impacting as far as lost sales, but also a lot of unsustainable practice as well, because they may be involved, they may be getting into the landfills. So this is the second part of my presentation. So I'm going to go over a couple of tips on how you can improve for speed to market. But again, as you're going through this, think of if you really want to make your product faster, which may not always be the good thing to do. You may make it fast. It may be too early in the season or too much pre-season, and then the consumer trends may shift. Suddenly you have a design that people may not actually be interested in buying. You may be too slow to react, so you lose a lot of sales as well. So it needs to be very optimized. Fast doesn't always have to be good. We hear a lot of companies saying like, oh, we got the product development down to 15 days, or oh, we got from inspiration to make to 45 days or 20 days. It's great, but is that really helping you capture the consumer? Are you too early? Are you too late? You should be just right. So you have to understand the trade-offs when you are looking at speed and also quality programs. Global supply chain is a delicate balance between quality, lead time, and also cost. I mentioned we are moving a bit from the lowest cost to how we can get products faster to market while being sustainable and also improving quality. So trying to balance these will require you to be very smart and very optimized with your stakeholders in your supply chain and in your organization as well. A case study about a cereal food company. So this company tried to create a lean program in their manufacturing base, and it was a bit of a push program without having all of the support mechanisms. They went through it, and there were 16 products that were recalled for hygiene oversights. Workers reported increase in stress and workload, and they incurred almost $250 million drop in sales, and also $200 million to invest to fix their supply chain. So it's very important doing the right things, but you need to have the right stakeholders and the right support mechanism to do these inventory optimization programs. We've worked with a company to actually lean out their distribution. We managed to get their inventory covered from 35 weeks down to 24 weeks, and the shipment lead time, we got it from 90 days to 14 days. So again, this is reaction. It was a distributor, and it was a reaction to market. So we managed to reduce that speed on replenishment of the products by installing pick-to-light systems. By the way, I believe you will be getting these slides, so don't worry if you cannot catch it, because I have 10 minutes, I may have to go a bit faster. The approach cannot be one size fits all. You have your fashion products that need to come into the shelves very, very quickly, and they may have a very quick sell. You have your seasonal products, pretty much you know when they will be hitting the shelf, but it still is a seasonal product. Then you have your basic products, such as maybe if you're in the apparel business, could be a white or black shirt or a t-shirt. So these ones, you have to get a good supply chain to maintain the service levels on the right way. Okay. I'm going to talk about how you can do the basic replenishment, basic product replenishment. One of the programs that our parent company TAL is famous for is they're the pioneers in vendor managed inventory. What vendor managed inventory means is they are actually looking at the sales of the retailer from every single store every day and normalizing those sales and looking at the lead time of raw materials and also the manufacturing lead time and giving the order to the factory to start replenishing, to start making that product. So rather than the brand actually doing or merchandisers giving the orders or trying to come up with an educated guess of what that sales forecast should be, you can have your vendor managing your entire inventory. It's not really about liability I'm talking about here, it's about looking at end-to-end supply chain and replenishment of the products. It fits quite well to those basic products, but we have been also experimenting with fashion as well as seasonal items as well. And we have got up to we're deploying machine learning and AI at the moment in our Weave labs, and we are getting the fashion and seasonal sales to a very high confidence level of getting the sales right. So we keep on experimenting, we keep on improving, but it's very important if you have a VMI partner or if you have a factory or vendor that can manage your inventory, they need to get full transparency of your supply chain, of your sales. But it does really pay. Imagine running low on your inventory, all that footprint, reducing your stores as well as your DCs, savings, time savings, money savings, footprint savings, as well as getting the right inventory, right product at the right time, all managed by one partner. So we've implemented that, and we managed to get 1 percentage point up in the forecast accuracy, which is actually quite high. We increased sell-through, and also in-stock percentage was less than 9%, and we got it up to above 91%. We set dynamic stock level at the retail as well as the DC level, so they don't have to do any educated guess. We would be doing it through our replenishment and analytics team. And more we're experimenting, we're adding into the AI, and also using other client data to make sure that we are matching what their sales are. Think holistically. It's going to be really quick on this one. So, and we would like to think about the whole supply chain as a journey from design to distribute, going into the consumer. So there are many different programs you can do. I just spoke about VMI. You have vendor-led design to reduce the design time. I will be talking about the Read and React program, which is sort of the hot topic. Zara does this, Uniqlo does it, all the fast fashion brands have some sort of Read and React program. But to really get it, I know it's a busy slide, but I do want to show the difference between how you can chase a fashion item, something that you just introduce to the market, you don't have a lot of sales data, you don't have a lot of historical data, so you have low confidence, but how can you still react to the changing market demands and your sales quickly so you can capture the customer's purchase. On the read side of things, and then you also have the optimized program, which is more on you have higher confidence level. Your historical read is more than 1 year, so you get a bit higher confidence level on what is selling and what will not be selling. Two different ways of looking at it is you have, for the chase programs, you have lower inventory, lower finished goods, but you have more risk on the raw material side of things. So you have a full-size set ready to start the production in a very short amount of time as soon as you read the sales and say, okay, I need more of this. We're seeing this in watches, in jewelry, as well as apparel and textile. So it's not just for apparel. Any industry, any market, any kind of product could be using Read and React systems. On the optimize, the risk, the supply chain risk, is mitigated across the chain. So you have holding costs in different parts of the supply chain, and you're also holding different levels of work in progress inventory. A famous sort of Read and React program is when you have watch, you can change the color of the watch, but you can have the chrome or the base color stationed in one place, and then you read the data, you look and how to react. If brown or a red wristwatch is selling more, you can immediately change the color that is sitting on that line for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so you can have a better assortment and make the product for what sells at that moment and capture the customer. So differentiated sort of supply chain levels, inventory levels, all risk mitigated to make sure that we capture the right customer at the right time. So we did that for a very large US chain, which has more than 400 stores in China. We did do Read and React. We implemented Read and React system for their softline division. We would read the sales and we would do in-season replenishment. So we looked at their assortments. We had dynamic store inventory level settings, and we managed to improve their flexibility in multi-buy and also their profitability by more than 20%. So it's all about not making everything at once and just trying to push the volume and selling by slashing the prices by 50%. It's about making the right product at the right time and really trying to do that multi-buy process, but with educated lead times embedded into the holding cost risks. We had another one with the lead time diagnostic for a European retailer, a footwear manufacturer. Through looking at their actual manufacturing layout and line, we managed to save more than 50% on lead time savings. So again, if you realize you have different improvement the initiatives that you can do along the different parts of the supply chain. So there's just so much to uncover in your company's supply chain. So just start that conversation. I guess that's what I can ask from you. A lot of you may be buyers from your brands or your companies, or maybe startups. Just starting that conversation of what can we do, what can we uncover in our supply chain, whether it's cost or speed to market, and how can we react to the changing consumer demand faster. Collaborate selectively. We all know about vendor tiering. We all have our gold, silver, bronze suppliers. It's about partnering with the right vendor. The ones, actually Sam was talking about that on the sustainability side of things. If you partner with the right vendor, with the right supplier, they will open up to you and you will be able to partner with them to reduce your overall lead time and cost of ownership together. They will be passing on the savings to you, but they will also be benefiting of the knowledge and the newly uncovered productivity and savings on their end as well. So this is for a watch manufacturer. The brand actually came with us. This is what Sam was talking about before. The brand came to us and said, we have a lot of volume going into this vendor, a manufacturer. So we spoke to them. They understand that we need savings, so we want you guys to go and do a diagnostic and create some savings, and then they agree to pass it to us. Maybe we uncover 10% savings and pass 5% to the brand. But this is integrated sort of like solutions that need to start at very high levels of the organization, because it's quite an integrated process, and really both parties have to believe in it. All right. Last but not least, culture is key. Speed to market, but it's also speed of decisions. You want to create an agile organization where you can have very quick turnaround and decision-making process. Gone are the days of tens of levels of approvals. We need to be data-driven, impact-driven, quick decisions made in the supply chain so we can react faster, internal and external. And again, choosing your own stakeholders in this way is also extremely important. So very quickly, you need to empower your people. You need to have lean process, internal and external. You need to have an organization. We have major organizations, but we have to be also flat when needed, a very collaborative organization culture. We are doing a lot of capability and agile organizational development actually with many of these sourcing agencies or brands at the moment, and also technology. But always get the first three right before you introduce technology. Because if you have wasteful processes, I always say this, everyone thinks having the right technology or the right PLM system will solve everything. The first question I ask is, do you even have an SOP, standard operating procedure? Do you know your process? If you have wasteful processes and then put technology on top of it, you're just automating waste. You're just automating 15 layers of approval. So you will have red tape, you will have a lot of inefficiencies in your process. We worked coaching of a very big intimate brand, a supplier. We implemented SNOP, sales and operation planning meetings, and they were able to increase their profits and also improve their forecast accuracy through integrated planning.
Oh, okay.
So talk to us.
Okay. Gotta go.
Sorry.
Wait a minute, Sandra.
Mr. Yurdum, for the very useful tips. So now we receive some questions from the floor. So